This video shows a courtroom moment that quickly turns from a simple traffic case into a legal standoff you won't believe. What starts as a routine hearing becomes tense, confusing, and oddly entertaining when the defendant, Mr. Lynch, tries to challenge the law itself. Instead of addressing the traffic violation, he insists he was operating under the Constitution and claims he doesn't need a driver's license to drive at all. Judge Perkins listens patiently. But it doesn't take long for the court to shut these arguments down. The defendant presents paperwork, makes bold claims about past cases being dismissed, and even suggests that normal legal standards don't apply to him. The judge makes it clear, none of that matters here. The law is the law, and personal interpretations won't change it. Things take an even stranger turn when Mr. Lynch refuses an attorney, saying lawyers only tell people to take a deal. Moments later, he changes his mind and asks for a court-appointed lawyer, but only to help with courtroom procedure. Then comes the moment that leaves everyone stunned. He attempts to enter a plea of not guilty with impunity, a phrase so bizarre it causes confusion and laughter across the courtroom. As the hearing continues, Judge Perkins delivers a blunt reality check, warning the defendant that these arguments will absolutely fail in front of him. The judge explains that a jury trial is the defendant's only real chance, setting the case on a path that could end very differently than Mr. Lynch expects. The video wraps up with talk of evidence requests, body cam footage, and the defendant making shocking claims about suing jurors if he loses. It's a perfect example of how sovereign citizen arguments collide with real courtroom law, and why judges don't play along.
Your Honor, when the officer pulled me over and he said that, I didn't say those words. I just told him I'm operating under the Constitution, and that's all else I said to him. And he just basically lied, said I was disgruntled, asked for backup and all that. And the video would show I wasn't even whatever, I can't think of the word he said, but he was saying I need backup. I have a irate or whatever word he said, and that was not even true.
It's just what you're saying is just not the state of the law. I don't know any other way to say it.
We just going to continue with the case, and whatever comes about. If the paperwork I given wasn't irrelevant, that's it then. So what is the next step?
So either the next step is take a plea, which I'm sure you don't want to do, but I'll give you the offer, or take it to trial, and those are the next steps.
Well, I guess we're going to have to go to trial.
I'm going to set it for a jury trial too, so you can bring this in front of a jury of your peers and see, what they say. And I guess you don't want a lawyer, right?
The other cases that I had got dismissed for same situation. So
say what?
The other cases I had for this was dismissed, and you told me to give you one name of one person, and I could have said it then and there. It was myself. I had court cases for the same thing, and it was dismissed on whatever circumstances happened. It was dismissed.
And what do you mean by that?
For the same driver.
Let's do this. Let's call it and put it all on the record. I have my court reporter back. Let's call it and put it on the record, all right? So, Mr. Lynch, let me ask you this, and this is just to understand, try to really get a grasp of your position. I understand you're why don't you, if you're not a sovereign citizen, usually sovereign citizens tell me, I don't want a lawyer. If you're not claiming the sovereign citizenship, why don't you get a lawyer to help you out with this?
I can't never find no attorney. The last attorney I got, they was telling me you should have just took a deal, you should have paid the ticket, and you really can't find nobody who's going to take your case. So basically, I'm in limbo, and basically all I have to say, not guilty with impunity.
Let's say this. I guess if you're
I'm not a
not willing
national,
to,
so I'm not a national, so I can't say that. All I'm saying, I'm just a citizen, and all I'm going to say, not guilty with impunity.
well, how are you in? How are you immune to this? Because I mean, let's just do this. You don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to tell me how you're going to proceed with your case. You're fully in the right to proceed however you want to proceed. I'm going to just give you a jury trial, and you'll have to present what you need to present in front of a jury. Will you allow me to assign a lawyer to you just for the purposes of, helping you out with the courtroom procedure and stuff?
You can do that.
I don't find anything that he's filed that has any merit. So that's why I'm giving you a jury trial, because if you bring the same stuff in a trial, if it's the same as what you're giving me and the stuff that you're professing, based on what I see, you're gonna lose.
So
by me.
If the judge is saying the information is not valid and the people don't know nothing, so why won't I put my hands in
First of all, what I'm telling you is I'm trying to give you a fighting chance with these arguments that you're making. What I'm telling you is you're not going to have a fighting chance with me. You're going to lose unless you come with something substantially different than what you have. At least with the people, you said it yourself. They don't know the law, or they might not even know the law. So you may be able to get them to side with you just because they love Mr. Lynch and they want it. I don't know. But other than that,
no jury. I really don't know people jury. I'm not even gonna do that. So if I found guilty, so I'm gonna have to sue every person that was a juror.
I don't know what you're gonna have to do. I don't know, Mr. Lynch. You're the one that's making these arguments up, and you're the one that has researched and done what you've done. You provided that stuff to me, so you're expected to know the law. You're expected to know the law. So whether you can sue jurors and whether you can sue whoever, that's going to be on you to know, and then or if you don't know, that's going to be on you to find out.
Okay, so I have to get back with the law department about the videos and the dash cam of the police officers.
That I can Mr. Bowman, can you put your appearance on the record, please? Now, Mr. Lynch, now I can potentially help you if the stuff exists. Mr. Lynch is asking for body cam and whatever discovery, that body cam, audio, video, whatever discovery that the people have in relates to his matters.
Your Honor, I understand that, and discovery would be provided if he files a valid request pursuant to the court rule for discovery.
So you saying I haven't done that previously? I don't see
Hold on,
Mr. Lynch. Your Honor, if I'm not mistaken, the court rule just says upon request. He's made his request today. I don't think that there's anything in the court rule that requires anything other than him making a request. Mr. Lynch has made his request for discovery, and I believe it's supposed to be provided to him.
Court rule provides for a written request, and that has not happened.
All right, let's the discovery, rule 6 point. We're gonna know this discovery rule, and you got it.
Forward and backwards.
Yeah, you need to get this book. You need to get this book, Mr. Lynch.
This video captures a courtroom exchange that starts as a simple traffic case but slowly unravels into a fascinating example of how pseudo-legal beliefs collide with real law. From the very beginning, it's clear this will not be an ordinary hearing. The defendant, Mr. Lynch, enters the courtroom confident, prepared, and absolutely convinced that the legal system does not apply to him in the way it applies to everyone else. As Judge Perkins opens the case, Mr. Lynch immediately begins asserting that he was not driving, but instead operating under the Constitution. He claims that because he was traveling, not driving for commercial purposes, he does not require a driver's license. This is a familiar argument often associated with sovereign citizen ideology, and the judge recognizes it instantly. Judge Perkins listens calmly but makes it clear that the court does not recognize this distinction. Under the law, operating a motor vehicle on public roads requires a valid license, regardless of how the individual personally defines their actions. Mr. Lynch attempts to reinforce his position by offering paperwork, documents he claims prove his legal standing and constitutional authority. The judge reviews the situation briefly and explains that these papers are irrelevant to the charge before the court. No amount of self-created documentation overrides state traffic law. The judge's tone remains controlled, but his message is unmistakable. The court operates on statutes and precedent, not personal interpretations of the Constitution. Undeterred, Mr. Lynch argues that previous cases against him were dismissed and insists this proves he is correct. He believes those dismissals establish some kind of immunity or precedent that should automatically apply here. Judge Perkins shuts this down quickly, explaining that every case stands on its own facts and current law. Past dismissals do not grant lifelong exemption from legal requirements, and they certainly do not bind the court in this proceeding. As the hearing continues, the defendant becomes increasingly argumentative, insisting that the court lacks jurisdiction over him. Judge Perkins responds directly, stating that jurisdiction exists because the alleged offense occurred within the court's authority. The judge does not entertain philosophical debates about sovereignty or personal status. He repeatedly redirects the conversation back to the actual charge, a traffic violation requiring a valid driver's license. At this point, the issue of legal representation arises. Mr. Lynch states that he does not want an attorney because, in his words, lawyers only tell people to take plea deals. He expresses distrust in the legal profession and claims he cannot find a lawyer who will argue his version of the law. Judge Perkins explains that while the defendant has the right to represent himself, doing so comes with serious risks. The court will not provide legal advice, and ignorance of the law will not protect him. Despite initially refusing counsel, Mr. Lynch later changes his position. He says he will accept a court-appointed attorney, but only for assistance with courtroom procedure, not legal strategy. The judge allows this, making it clear that an attorney's role is broader than mere procedure. Still, Judge Perkins appears focused on ensuring the defendant's rights are protected, even if the defendant does not fully understand what he is agreeing to. Then comes one of the most memorable moments of the hearing. When asked to enter a plea, Mr. Lynch attempts to plead, not guilty with impunity. The courtroom pauses. The phrase makes no legal sense. Judge Perkins asks him to clarify, and it becomes obvious that the defendant has invented his own legal terminology. Laughter can be heard from others. On the Zoom call as the judge explains that such a plea does not exist. The court can only accept recognized pleas under the law, not custom-made legal concepts. As the hearing progresses, Judge Perkins becomes more direct. He warns Mr. Lynch that the arguments he is making have absolutely no merit in his courtroom. The judge states plainly that if the case were tried before him alone, the defendant would lose. This is not a threat, but a legal reality based on established law and precedent. Judge Perkins emphasizes that courts across the country have repeatedly rejected these exact arguments. Recognizing this, the judge explains that a jury trial may be the defendant's only realistic chance. He tells Mr. Lynch that a jury, unlike a judge, may be persuaded by emotional appeals or confusion about legal theory. The judge sets the case for a jury trial, making it clear that this decision is actually in the defendant's best interest, even if he does not realize it. The conversation then takes an even stranger turn when Mr. Lynch claims that if a jury finds him guilty, he will sue every juror involved. Judge Perkins responds firmly, explaining that jurors are protected under the law and cannot be sued simply for performing their civic duty. The judge tells Mr. Lynch that if he believes otherwise, it is his responsibility to research the law properly. The court will not entertain threats or imaginary legal consequences. Throughout the hearing, Judge Perkins remains composed, even as the defendant repeatedly interrupts, talks over him, and insists the law should work differently. The judge consistently brings the discussion back to reality, reminding Mr. Lynch that belief does not equal law. No matter how strongly he feels, the statutes remain unchanged. Toward the end of the hearing, Mr. Lynch requests discovery materials, specifically body camera and dash camera footage from the traffic stop. The prosecutor notes that such requests typically need to be made in writing. Instead of delaying the process, Judge Perkins steps in and facilitates the request, ensuring the defendant receives the information while still following proper procedure. This moment highlights the court's effort to balance efficiency with fairness, even when dealing with a difficult litigant. As the hearing wraps up, it is clear that Mr. Lynch remains unconvinced. He continues to believe that his interpretation of the Constitution grants him special status. Judge Perkins, however, leaves no doubt about the court's position. The law applies equally to everyone, regardless of personal beliefs, online theories, or homemade legal arguments. This courtroom exchange serves as a powerful example of how sovereign citizen ideology plays out in real life. Confident claims, stacks of paperwork, and invented legal phrases may sound persuasive outside the courtroom, but under judicial scrutiny, they fall apart quickly. Judges are bound by law, not ideology, and patience has limits when faced with arguments that have been rejected countless times before. In the end, the case moves forward not because the defendant wants it to, but because the legal system operates on rules that cannot be bypassed. What began as a simple traffic matter turns into a lesson in how the courts respond when challenged by pseudo-legal theories. Calm, firm, and unwavering, Judge Perkins demonstrates that while anyone is free to argue their case, the law itself is not up for debate.